Right, so we'll bring this meeting to order. First order of business is just our roll call attendance. So we'll go around people in the room first, and then we'll do our folks on Zoom. So Valjean or David.
Valjean Estes.
David Ingram.
Sean Sullivan.
Phyllis Goodson.
Pam Hardy, Duke Energy.
Rich Smith,
Dave Mays.
and our folks on Zoom,
Andrea Bennett.
And there's Kendall.
and Kendall.
Can you hear us, Kendall? No audio, perhaps.
Ask Kendall if she can hear us. Kendall is connecting to audio.
Here we go.
There we go.
Hey, Kendall, can you hear us?
We can't hear you if you're speaking. I'm so close.
I'm checking.
Oh, PJ's here.
Yeah, we all know. That's in the right direction.
Hey, PJ, can you hear us?
I can.
Great, thanks for joining.
So while we're working through that, the first item of business is approval of the last month's minutes. Do we have any discussion or anything comments that needs to be added to the meeting minutes? Not hearing any. Okay, so we'll go ahead and approve meeting minutes. Move on to our first and only item today, which is presentation and discussion with Ms. Pam Hardy. So I think we'll just turn it over to Pam first for her.
Well, I thought we'd first kind of just do a round of introductions. So Pam and Kendall, kind of a little background, just a little, who you are and your role, kind of what you do. So.
All right, I'll start off. My name is Rich Smith. I'm the Clean Energy Advisory Chair. Been with the committee since we started in 2002.
2021.
2021.
Yeah, 21.
21. The years fly by. Oh my God.
Well, all the way back to the task force even.
Yeah. So I'm a energy engineer with a company called Resolute Building Intelligence, and we do energy efficiency projects and retro commissioning for hospital systems, school systems, government buildings, et cetera, et cetera.
We'll go around the clock. So yeah, we'll end with Pam. How's that?
I'm Dave Mays. I'm the Public Works Director for the city of Wilmington. So Dave and I work together on sustainability issues for the city.
I am Valjean Estes. I'm the energy manager with the New Hanover County Schools. As of late, I'm also the asbestos lady, the lead and the water, the paint lady. I hate you. So too.
And I am David Ingram, Sustainability Manager for the City of Wilmington. And I also dabble in recycling, waste management. So, yeah, great.
I'm Sean Sullivan. I'm a geophysicist. Prior to that, I work a lot in onshore wind and solar now. But prior to that, I worked in offshore wind for about 10 years. Probably why I joined the committee, the task force first, but I'm still working in renewable energy.
I'm Phyllis Goodson. My background's energy consulting, working with companies like Duke and others.
I am Pam Hardy, District Manager with Duke Energy. I'm responsible for relationships with our elected officials, local government leaders, emergency management leaders, business leaders in the community. I serve as the face of the company in the region, and also responsible for the philanthropic efforts of the company. Dollars are aligned with the our three pillars: vibrant communities, climate resiliency, and social justice, along with chief problem solver and everything else that comes with that storm response, that work with our operations leaders in order to make sure our elected officials and key business leaders are informed before, during, and after storms. So that's a snapshot.
Hey, Andrea and PJ, why don't y'all give a quick intro as well?
Sure. My name is Andrea Bennett. I joined the task force back during COVID, engaging with the social equity subcommittee. I actually started off as a biology teacher at Laney High School, and ended up leaving and going into the private sector. So I am now the executive director of Deal Desk at a company called Amplify Education.
Hey, Pam. PJ Klein with Corning, Business Continuity Program Manager and Energy Manager for our optical fiber and cable business. And I've been with the, started off with the task force and now with the committee.
Great. Yeah, and Kendall, like, hopefully you can hear us now as well.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Great, okay. Sorry about that. My computer just did not want to pull up Zoom, but I can see you all. I'm glad you can hear me. I'm Kendall McGinley. I am a manager on the clean energy team. My team is responsible for having a suite of different offerings for our customers to meet their sustainability goals. So we've got programs for residential, small business, all the way up to large industrial, cities, all kinds of programs. So I'll be talking about the Green Source Advantage program primarily today.
Great. Yeah, we look forward to hearing all about that program.
Jessica's there.
Yeah. Hey, Jessica, see you joined as well, and we're just doing a quick round of introductions. If you want to introduce yourself. We can't hear you. It looks like you're muted.
I haven't used Zoom in so long, y'all. So sorry. Yep. Good to see everyone. So sorry. I'm joining a little late. Looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think we're ready for it quite yet.
I tried sharing my screen to make sure it would work. I don't know if you can see it now, but if you take it back, then feel free. Okay.
Yeah, we can see it for now. Yeah, why don't we wait just a minute before we jump on that one?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. All right, thanks. Yeah, so I just wanted to take a quick minute, just say thank you both for joining us today. And, we really hope to, hear about some of the specific programs that Duke Energy has on offer, but, also, share with you what our city goals are, both of our 2035 clean energy goal of 50% clean energy by 2035 for our municipal operations, as well as a little bit longer reaching goals going all the way out to 2050. Tied in with those are, I think, we spoke about it briefly, and were our fleet electrification goals. So, we certainly want to hear about opportunities where we can collaborate and not only reach our goals, but hear about some of those goals as well. Yeah, and really just look at some of the some bigger picture as well. It's like, what can we do as a city to advance clean energy and greenhouse gas reductions and all of that within our area? What can we do to advocate for that? So, yeah, please. Yeah.
So I do have a selfie pad of notes because I'm pitch hitting for a couple of different programs. But the first thing I wanted to do is say thank you for inviting Duke Energy in. This is a great opportunity for us to continue the partnership and grow that partnership. Wilson Hudspeth is actually your large account manager who would plug you into a lot of these programs that I'm going to touch base on, but glad to share the notes that I have. So I'll kick it off with the PowerShare program, and that is a Duke Energy Carolina's Demand Response Program. That is a program that offers customers the opportunity to play a significant role in the operation of the electric grid by reducing or shifting their electricity usage during peak periods. It can also help you save on your bill and be more energy efficient. Have you talked to Wilson about that, or has that ever come up during your conversations?
Yeah, we have had some discussion about it, particularly as we've got some programs coming up in regard to solar and energy efficiency particularly for some of our lower income areas. So that would tie in well with.
Enroll commercial and industrial customers choose that option that is best fitting for their particular business. To shift energy use away from the power grid for a short period of time. And I'm going over the programs that you mentioned or asked me about in the email. Offshore wind. Offshore wind does have the opportunity to play a significant role as part of a diverse and increasingly clean energy mix that includes next generation nuclear, natural gas, solar, onshore wind, and storage resources to meet energy needs of our growing region while protecting reliability and affordability for our customers. Electric vehicles. We've been planning for a future with electric transportation, including in the areas we serve where customers live and drive. Approximately 2 million EVs, electric vehicles, are expected to be on the road in Duke Energy service territories by the end of 2030. We're estimating about 2 million vehicles. The EV transition is considered another big boom in energy demand. Duke Energy EV commercial programs. Currently in North Carolina, we have 2. And there's a charger solution program. And this is where business customers can rent an EV charger from Duke Energy. This program covers a term rental of commercial level 2 or fast charger for business, multi-unit dwellings, or industrial sites, including the cost of installation, warranty, and maintenance. The other, throughout the term, which is 4 years for level 2 or 7 years for fast charge. This gives you the opportunity to operate the charging station, and Duke Energy will retain ownership and responsibility for troubleshooting and maintenance. There is a charger prep credit, and business customers can get a rebate from Duke Energy for upgrading their existing electrical infrastructure to prepare for a charger on site at their premise. And fleet electrification. While it's not an actual formal program, we do offer assistance if the city is thinking about electrifying their fleet. And we do have specialists that can help with that. We can also help direct you to funding as it relates to that programming, and existing charger infrastructure programs can help offset some of that cost of the fleet electrification. Let's see. Demand side management was one that was added last. In the proposed carbon plan, integrated resource plan currently being reviewed by state regulators, North Carolina Utilities Commission, our aggressive energy efficiency and demand side management programs are targeting peak demand reduction of nearly 2.8 gigawatts by 2038. And as I shared before, Wilson Hudspeth is your large account manager. He can actually have these in-depth discussions with you in order to plug you into those resources within Duke Energy that actually manage the programs to determine if any of those would be a fit or the city would be interested in discussing further based on your strategy for reducing your carbon footprint. So those are the items that I was asked to cover. And I can either pause or we can let Kendall do her presentation and then take questions at the end.
Yeah, why don't we hear about the Green Source Advantage program from Kendall, and then yeah, perhaps any questions that come up, we'll jump into. So
Sounds good. I turned my camera off just because I'm having a bit of a bandwidth problem, but let me go ahead and share my screen here.
great.
Just let me know when you can see it.
Yep, we've got it.
Okay, great. So as I go through this presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me and just ask. It's not a complicated program once you understand it, but it can come across as a little bit complicated initially. So I welcome any questions that you have. So our Green Source Advantage Choice program is for large business customers. And it is an off-site sustainability program for customers to choose if they want flexibility, they don't want to install equipment on their own site, but they do want clean energy. So some of the benefits, and we'll get into the details of the program, the benefits are that it is an off-site solution, like I mentioned, no equipment or upfront capital needed to install equipment on your premise. The customer, which would be you, would retain the right to claim all of the clean energy environmental attributes, which is actually kind of a new term, a new Duke Energy term, but it basically is the REC, which is a term most people are familiar with, so the Renewable Energy Certificate, and then also the carbon-free attribute associated with that energy. That's just a small nuance that there was an old definition in the state of North Carolina that was a little bit ambiguous on whether or not you got to claim the carbon reduction aspect of a REC. So rest assured, if you participate in the program, you're getting the REC and the claim to the carbon-free reduction. It's a three-party agreement between Duke Energy, the customer, and a renewable supplier. And it allows flexibility for the customer to select the supplier and negotiate project terms directly with them, including the purchase price of the energy and the contract length up to 20 years. And then finally, all the billing is facilitated on your Duke Energy monthly invoice. So there's not any kind of administration work or outside financial steps that have to happen after everything is online and billing. I'll cover this, what is a REC? I'm sure most of you are familiar with this, but just as a refresher, if not. So when you look at the grid, there is non-renewable generation and renewable generation that goes to serve all customers. When generation comes from a renewable source, there's the electrons, the energy, and then there's also the REC. So it's the attribute along with that renewable energy that allows you to claim the renewable energy for your own goals, and it represents 1 megawatt hour of electricity generated from a renewable resource. REC procurement is a very common strategy to deal with Scope 2 emissions related to your electricity usage because it does remove that requirement to install facilities behind the meter. So how does the program work? We've got a few different slides that kind of show this, but as far as how you, the customer, would interact with the developer and Duke Energy, so you would start by locating a supplier. You would negotiate the prices, rates, and the contract term directly with them, and then you would apply for the program with Duke Energy after that. The developer that you select would then enter into a purchase power agreement with Duke Energy, because we, Duke Energy, still have to be the ones to purchase the power from that renewable supplier. Then you, the customer, would receive the RECs from the renewable energy generated from the developer, and the developer would transfer those RECs into a tracking system that you would designate, probably in CREPS in North Carolina. And then you would receive your normal monthly invoice from Duke Energy Progress, and it would have a few new line items. It would have the sum of the GSA product charge, which is how much you're paying for the electricity, and then a bill credit, and then the administration charge. And then finally, this talks about the bill credits again. So you're paying for the energy, but you're also being credited. There's a delta there, which is basically the premium that you're paying for the REC.
Hey, Kendall, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
So is if you do the GSA program, is it tied to like a particular existing facility or account that you already have, or is it set up as its own individual account?
Good question. So it would be an existing account that you have, but it would be a new renewable facility. So you would not be purchasing power, quote unquote, from a solar farm that already exists. It would be a new renewable facility, but you would be billed on one of your existing monthly accounts. And you can choose which account, or if you want it billed to multiple accounts, you can do that too. There's a $50 per additional account administration charge. Okay, so to be eligible for the program, you have to have either a maximum annual peak demand of greater than 1 megawatt at a single location, or you can aggregate all of your demand across multiple sites within the DEP progress territory, and it has to be over 5 megawatts. And then as far as how large of a facility you can contract with, it's capped at no more than 100% of your annual kilowatt hour usage. So as an example, if your previous 12 months of usage was 155,000 megawatt hours, then a facility that has a 25% capacity factor, which is, kind of standard, would be capped at about 70 megawatts. So the math there, 70 megawatts operating at full capacity, if there was sun all the time, 365 days a year, 24 hours, times that capacity factor gives you 153,000 megawatt hours. Just below the annual usage. So that's how we would determine how large of a facility.
Yeah, I guess that's what kind of ties into my last question is, what if we're trying to offset, all of our electricity use from facilities across our portfolio? Can you?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Yes, you can group them. Yep, absolutely. And that's common. I've got another slide that shows other participants in the program that have done the same thing. Okay, so the billing components that you would see, there's an application fee non-refundable of $2,000. And then the monthly bill would include the 3 line items I mentioned earlier. So there's the product charge, which is going to be the amount that you've negotiated with the supplier. We've got an example later of $50 per megawatt hour. So you would be charged whatever amount of energy is generated times that fixed price. And that would come to us, to Duke Energy, because we facilitate the building. Then there would be the credit. So you get to choose which type of credit you want. There's a 2-year, 5-year, or 10-year fixed avoided cost rate that you can choose. Or you can go with the hourly marginal cost credit option, which changes every hour. And to help you make that decision, we can provide what those are. So we'll provide you what the 2, 5, and 10-year fixed costs are, and then we can give you historical hourly data if you sign an NDA to kind of help you make that decision. And so that would be multiplied by the total energy production of the site. So that would be, a debit, that would be a credit, and then there's the monthly admin charge, which is $375 plus an additional $50 per account. Now, just because you add up all of your sites to build the largest facility that you can, doesn't mean you have to pay $50 for all of those. It's just if you wanted to split the billing up between the different sites for whatever reason, it would just be $50 per additional account. So this is an example if a customer chose the fixed avoided cost bill credit option. Say that bill credit was $40 per megawatt hour. This is how the 3-party agreement would work. So you would be paying the $375 admin fee, assuming you didn't want to add any other accounts to the bill, and then you would pay the $50 megawatt hour product charge, which is what you would have agreed upon with the supplier, and then you would be credited $40 per megawatt hour on your bill. That would be that set avoided cost. And then you would receive the RECs from the renewable supplier. The renewable supplier would have a PPA signed with Duke Energy, and then there's a 3-party renewable service agreement for the program that would be signed up front. And you'll see too, we would receive the $50 from you and then just pass that right back to the renewable supplier. So we handle paying the supplier. That's not anything that you would have to coordinate. And then the energy is going to all retail customers, of course. It's not going to be, you know, like a transmission line directly from the site to your facilities. Okay, so the program capacity, it is a limited capacity. It's first come, first serve for customers that submit an application and pay the application fee. That's how you solidify your participation and reservation of that capacity. This GSA Choice program is the most recent iteration of the GSA program that we've had around for a few years. It was just approved in July of 2024. So this is actually like one of the very first times we're doing this presentation with the most updated terms of the program. It's not much different than the previous versions of the program. But right now, all of the capacity is available for the GSA Choice program. So there's 250 megawatts of capacity available for the program that I've described. And then there is another option. It works very similarly. It's called the Resource Acceleration option. It's still a three-party agreement. There's still the same options for, you know, contract length, bill credit, those kind of things. But this is a specific type of facility would qualify. So it must have submitted an eligible conforming non-winning bid in the most recent RFP. So Duke goes through an annual RFP to bring more solar resources onto our grid. If you want to participate in the REO option, it would need to be a project that did not win a bid in the most recent RFP. And really the reason for that is because during negotiations of the program, when we were looking to get it approved by the commission, there were some organizations that wanted another option that would bring in resources additional to what was already being brought to the grid. And then there is another aspect to the GSA Choice program that I'll talk about at the end. It's what we internally kind of call the easy button option, where it's not a three-party agreement. It's just a two-party agreement. And it is a little bit simpler. You don't have to find a renewable supplier. You can just contract for a certain amount of capacity from a Duke coordinated facility. It may still be a PPA or it may be a Duke owned facility, but we don't have any of that available right now. We don't see that coming online. The earliest site that would qualify for this part of the program would be 2026. So that's why we're not talking about that too much right now, but I do have a few more details about that at the end. Okay, so this is a little bit more applicable to customers that have sites or load across, you know, both Carolinas, both service territories. But for you all, the important part here is that once you decide how large of a facility that you would want, you could locate that facility in North Carolina or South Carolina. So you're not limited to just Duke Energy Progress North Carolina. If you found a facility in South Carolina instead, that would be okay. But it would need to be in the Duke Energy Progress territory of South Carolina. So some other participants we've had in the program, this is only being shared because statements have been made publicly. You know, we wouldn't share any kind of information if you became a participant in the program that wasn't shared publicly, but we've got Bank of America, City of Charlotte, Duke University, the City of Durham had a few different accounts that they pulled together, and then the United States Department of Defense. I will say none of the sites are online yet. It is kind of a lengthy process because you have to find a supplier and they're not already online jittering power. So it does take some time, but we have our first sites coming online at the beginning of 2025.
Well, another question. I see that Durham area, they like combined organizations to go in on one
Yes.
GSA program. Was that just for the increased energy that to make it more of a viable project? You know?
Yeah. You know, sometimes renewable suppliers, like they might not want to build a 2 megawatt facility. You know, they want more load, and they also probably, the City of Durham, I wasn't involved when they executed their agreement, but they have, you know, goals of their own. They wanted to combine that to try and reach their goals easier and with a larger facility. So
Yeah, I think that was the issue that some other North Carolina cities ran into. They tried to reach out to providers, but the project wasn't big enough to be profitable.
Yeah, that does happen. And that is why, you know, our new easy button option is going to be attractive. But unfortunately, it's just not quite available yet, although it is approved. We just don't have the resources online. Okay, so one more graphic kind of showing the process. So again, initially, the customer would select a supplier, typically through an RFI, RFP, secure whatever internal buy-in you need from your own stakeholders, and then apply to the program with the $2,000 non-refundable application fee, and then identify which bill credit option you want. You want the 2-year, 5-year, or 10-year fixed bill credit option, or the hourly marginal bill credit option, and then which project, of course, you're going with, the location, the supplier, details like that. Then you would finish up negotiations with the developer, and then we would all enter into a 3-party service agreement. And this is also when the supplier would execute the purchase power agreement with us. And then once the site is online and producing energy, then you would start being billed for the program. You'd have those 3 line items, and then you would receive the RECs from the renewable energy generated. And then finally, just some upcoming programs outside of what I've described today. So there's the easy button option that I mentioned. You would contract for these clean energy environmental attributes, or RECs, directly from Duke Energy. It would come from Duke-owned facilities or facilities that we have a direct PPA with. You wouldn't have to locate your own supplier. Just that 2-party agreement between you and us. You could choose a contract length of 5, 10, 15, 20, or 25 years. The price for the REC would be based on the average market rate of RECs, and it's locked in for the duration of the contract. So instead of seeing something like $50 per megawatt hour per REC, it would likely be in the $3 to $5 range. But you also don't receive a bill credit. The Clean Energy Impact Program is filed in North Carolina. So this is very similar to the easy button option, but instead you're subscribing to a certain number of RECs. So it's not based on generation of a facility, it's based on the number of RECs that you're contracting for. And I should say subscribed. There are no contracts. You don't have to sign up for 5 years, and the price would change annually based on the market value of RECs. This is not approved yet. This is filed with the North Carolina Utilities Commission, but we're awaiting approval. And this is capped to medium business customers. I don't have the eligibility requirements in front of me, but it isn't meant for like very large industrial or large usage customers like the GSA program is. So it's kind of filling that gap for the smaller customers. But likely a lot of your accounts would qualify for this. And then there's the Clean Energy Connection Program that is currently under development. We plan to file it with the North Carolina Utilities Commission by the end of the year. That is a community solar program where a customer would receive RECs and a potential bill savings over time. So this would follow a very similar model to the Clean Energy Connection Program that we have in Florida right now. There's typically a pretty long window before you see a bill savings option, but it is that community solar program where you kind of almost like rent a section of a community solar farm, and then you get the credits for the output. You also have to pay a subscription fee, and then you get the RECs too. That is available to all customer classes, so residential customers up through large industrial. We do have an upcoming stakeholder engagement session on this program at the end of October. It was mandated by the commission to have a few engagement sessions. So we just had one last week, but there's another one upcoming. So if any of you are interested in listening into that, you can email this email address and we'll add you to the invite list. And I'll send this deck out after. And that is the end of the slides I have. So what questions do you all have?
Thank you, Kendall. Questions, anyone?
David, do we have a facility that meets the 1 megawatt requirement?
I believe our fire or police headquarters, perhaps.
Sure.
If not, I mean, we would certainly look at combining all of our usage for an offset though.
Yeah, and typically the large account manager would be able to pull that information pretty easily and tell you, what your annual peak demand is at all your facilities, and then figure out, do you meet the requirements? I'm sure that if you aggregated your annual peak demand together, you would. But and then they could also determine what your annual kWh usage is to figure out what the facility size could be.
Kendall, are you seeing this only applicable to solar or other forms of energy?
It is technically applicable to all forms of renewable energy. We've only seen solar so far, but the tariff, I believe, specifies exactly which energy qualifies as renewable, but it's not just solar. But that is what we typically see.
And do you think are most of these projects that people are signing these contracts with, are they already starting up, or like? I mean, the reason I ask is just how long the permitting process takes.
Yeah.
For a developer side.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I didn't cover that bit, but let me pull this up. So a facility qualifies as eligible for the program if they have signed a DICES agreement, which is our definitive interconnection study process. Any kind of interconnected facility over a certain size has to go through the study to see what impacts it's going to have on the grid. And they have to meet all the security and readiness milestone 1 requirements. The DICES program is kind of study is a bit complicated, but basically what I'm saying is typically it's a developer that has rights to land, whether they lease it or own it, and they've got a plan for their site, but they don't have panels on the site yet. They're not generating yet, so they have to be kind of in that sweet spot of they've applied for interconnection, but they have not started generating yet. And we do on our website to kind of help facilitate you all finding a developer. We've got a list of developers that have agreed to have their contact information on our site that you could reach out to if you did an RFP. So I'm happy to send that link with the PowerPoint afterwards. But it is a multi-year kind of plan. So if you decide to move forward today, it could take a few years before sites are online and generating.
Yeah, I was wondering, are the developers, you have these contract terms of 5 to 25 years. I just wonder, probably more leaning towards the 25 years than the 5 years. Is that a wrong assumption? Just because if you're
yeah, I would say the developers tend to prefer the longer contracts because it's a guaranteed source of income for that duration. So that's the flexibility part where you're able to negotiate directly with the supplier. If you're going to go with a longer contract, they may be willing to come down on the price per megawatt hour. So.
And that negotiated price is locked in for the length of the entire contract?
It is, yes. Now, that's a fair question, because that is negotiated between you and the supplier. If a few years in, you both wanted to agree to a different price, I can follow up on that and see if there's anything that would prevent a renegotiation. That hasn't come up yet, but I can follow up on that.
Kendall, thanks so much for the update. I do have a question. For those that are interested in this particular program or possibly others, in particular the stakeholder engagement meeting that you'll be having at the end of October, what can they look forward to learning or being informed about in that particular setting if they're thinking about the information that they gleaned here back to their, business units or their organizations to determine if they need to plug into that for more information?
So the stakeholder engagement session is primarily to talk about the Clean Energy Connection program. So that's for customers or stakeholders that are interested in having input on how the program is developed. You can hear about what we're thinking about, how we're thinking about designing the program. If you had input to, what kind of certificate would you be looking for if you were to participate in the program, or what would make you more likely to participate, or what would be a barrier to what you're hearing for participation. So it is going to primarily focus on the Clean Energy Connection program because the GSA Choice program has already been approved and the Clean Energy Impact program has already been filed. So. But anyone looking just to learn more information about the Clean Energy Connection program or provide input to the development, that's who would benefit from that meeting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the timeline for implementing the Clean Energy Impact program?
So the sites that are going to feed that program follow the same kind of timeline as the GSA Choice Easy button. So those sites are not going to be online until 2026 at earliest. That's assuming we get approval of the program, which we are expecting to happen soon. So it would not be available for at least a year and a half. And I'll also add we're anticipating, you never know, but a lot of demand for both of these programs, the Easy Button and the Clean Energy Impact program. And we will likely not have as much capacity available with those first sites coming online in 2026 as customers want. So in North Carolina, it's going to be a kind of a pro rata share of all the applicants. We're still working on what that process is going to look like. And there will be more information to come on that. But I just say that to say that there may not be all the capacity you need if you decide to wait until 2026, because it will have to be shared with other applicants.
Jessica, Andrea, PJ, any questions from y'all online?
No, I appreciate this program though. Really interesting. Be interesting to see how much uptake it gets.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Yeah, it's a great program. I mean, it definitely has some difficulties in the customer having to find the supplier. That's the primary feedback that we've gotten. But once that does happen, it's pretty seamless moving forward. And we have had some large customers that applied, reserve capacity, and will be billed soon. So, but that is why we developed some of these other programs like Clean Energy Impact and the Easy Button option of GSA Choice.
Yeah, so I have to drop here in about 15 minutes. I don't know, Kendall, if you're going to cover this or this is really for Pam, but the Power Share and Power Pair program, what opportunities are there for government, whether it's city or county governments, to participate in those programs?
Yeah, I think Pam can probably cover that. I will say the Power Pair program is also owned by the Clean Energy team under my peer, but right now it's only available to residential customers, but it's possible that it will be available to non-residential customers at some point. But right now we've only had filed and approved residential Power Pair. Pam will have to talk about power share.
And PJ, what I will do is have Wilson connect with you in regard to that to answer specific questions about that particular program since that falls up under his umbrella. So I can circle back with Wilson and make sure he connects with you.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
I had one question. Kendall, I think you had a slide about, I don't know if it was current users or current applicants.
Yes.
Do you mind navigating back to that for a second?
I don't know why. It feels like it disappeared. Am I just missing it here? Oh, yes, I am. Okay. There we go. Yes, so these are all customers that applied in reserved capacity and are moving forward with the program. The sites are not fully built and generating energy yet, but they're all in progress.
Got it. Okay. I was curious because the one that I remembered was the United States Department of Defense. And then I was like, wait, there has to be some other size sort of entity that we could, look at and see in parallel. But it looks like City of Charlotte, City of Durham have already kind of, started off this process. So I'm always curious to see if there's parallels with other cities and what their clean energy committees are doing. So I'm super curious about what the other cities are doing as well, and if there's anything that the city of Wilmington could learn from.
Yeah, and this isn't that helpful, but if you Google like City of Charlotte GSA program, there have been public statements made about it. I haven't done it in a minute to see what level of detail, but there is some information out there about their decision to join GSA.
Kendall, would you see advantage to an entity going after this program by leveraging a larger share? I mean, if we don't necessarily as an organization have enough demand to recruit a supplier that really wants to provide what we need, are there opportunities to collaborate with other municipalities in the area or other entities?
School systems.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me get back to you on that. I feel like the answer is no, but I want to make sure that's correct. So let me just check to make sure, because I mean that is a fair question, because it can make it more accessible. Let me follow up on that.
Sure. Can you explain on this slide right here? I guess it would be the second one from the left.
From the right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, from the right. It's City of Durham and it looks like two other
entities. County of
Durham
Durham County as well.
How did their arrangement come to be?
Yeah, so we don't have like very, very specific language in the tariff about how a customer can be viewed. I will tell you, internally we refer to this group as the Durhams. So there is some availability to collaborate. I don't know if, unfortunately, I wasn't here when they signed the contract. I wasn't in charge of this program, but I can kind of follow up and see what steps they went through. But there's some ability to collaborate, but it may be, it couldn't be City of Durham plus City of Raleigh, but because it was all within the Durham, which is not a great answer because, I wish I had more specific logic, but let me follow up on that and see kind of what the rules would be around collaboration. But you are right. This is, Durham County, City of Durham, which are not the same exact entity.
Anyone else? We thank you very much for the presentation, Kendall.
Of course. Yep. Happy to bring you all this information. I'll follow up on the few things we talked about today. And then if you do have any more questions that you think of, please feel free to reach out to me. Pam has my contact information. So happy to answer any questions you have. Also, our website has a lot of great information on it too. So I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You gave me a copy.
I will ask.
Yeah, I believe that is what Durham folks did, is like they combined their capacities to make it more attractive for a provider to build out the system.
The notes under that though said one facility for one location. So I wonder if that made it more applicable.
Yeah. I know the people up there, so I can reach out for some information too.
PJ, I'm curious, whether it's offline later or now, what your opinions are on the Rex and that type of program.
In the past, I mean, it's been very limited to the cities and counties participating in the GSA program. And I don't know why some of those cities chose not to participate, and maybe it's because of the hurdle that was there before. But at the end of the day, my opinion's always been, going after Rex or going after Rex is not the first thing you should be doing. It should be, hey, we've done all we could do from an energy efficiency perspective, and we still can't get to our goal, or your goal may be 0 by 2050. That's where the Rex really come into play. So maybe that's part of the reason that some of the cities haven't really jumped on it yet, because it's further out years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, certainly continue to drive down. Work on our energy efficiency is always going to be our base, something that we're always working towards, so we don't want to have to acquire as much renewables.
That's right. So. All right, I got to run to the next meeting.
Right.
Thanks, Pam, for joining.
Thanks, PJ.
Thanks for joining us, PJ. Be safe out there.
Just a follow-up. You asked if we had a facility that could meet that on.
Yeah, the one megawatt.
Well, police headquarters has always been our biggest
Mhm.
user.
Mhm.
Now we own this building, so I'm not sure where we're at on this building, but I would imagine we may have 2 now.
I didn't know it. I couldn't remember if police headquarters was more than 1,000 kilowatts demand.
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Easy enough.
Yeah, we'd certainly qualify for the program. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that one hurdle. I know one city in particular that it's like their demand just wasn't enough to. Yeah, I think they put it out there for bid, reached out to try to get some providers, and nobody responded. So it's one of the hurdles that they ran into. So
Which city was that?
Asheville, or I'm sorry, Buncombe County. I guess it's not the city, but the county. And like us, lots of smaller buildings, I guess. So not, I guess they have a big, headquarters, but they got a lot of small facilities as well.
Well, that's us.
Yeah.
We have 120 accounts, something like that. So we're all over the place.
I'm curious I'd be interested to see how much more, what the added cost ends up being. Like once obviously until you have the negotiations, but ballpark figures, what premium do you end up paying for the renewable energy side of it versus just purchasing from Duke? And I think that would play in a lot to kind of PJ's point about the less we're using, the less we would have to buy, I was interested to hear that they're the contract, the pricing in the contract is fixed. So you could, there is a, depending on the forecasting, there's an opportunity that you could be saving boatloads of money by that 20-year mark where energy prices keep climbing. You're paying what we negotiated 20 years ago. It's a pretty significant savings. So that would be something to look. That's something to consider as part of the process if you're thinking about this.
Yeah.
The lifespan of the contract, I wonder how much that's related to the expected lifespan.
Of the equipment.
I mean, that would make sense, right?
It would.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's why you don't see it going out beyond 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed that if you invested to put the infrastructure there, it just required you to renew the panels. And that's what you would do, renew the panels at 20 years or 25 years, whatever. I wouldn't think you'd want to give up that.
No. But
that
it
source.
depends if the supplier has purchased the land or is leasing the land. Their lease agreements may, and
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
they may have to reevaluate, what the property value is. Is it still the most productive thing for us to leave solar panels here, or is it more, should we put in another hotel, whatever.
Apartments.
Yeah, sure. Multi-use,
Multi-use.
yeah.
I do have one. Your discussion about electric vehicles. So we are going to be using some funding that we obtain through EDCBG grants. I think maybe we discussed this a bit on the phone. We're doing a fleet transition study that will in part we're going to have to figure out what charging infrastructure, physical infrastructure that we need plus capacity that we need in order to meet the demand of our own fleet. And we just got an email today from the purchasing group about the RFP. Can't remember which one it is. It's the RF something. It's a bigger Q is going out. What interaction could we see from whoever we hire to help us with that step? With what I wrote down was that y'all have specialists that are able to assist.
So Wilson is the person that coordinates all that. So what I'll do is when I get back, I will talk with him about this conversation and things that he needs to touch base with you and David about, including that as
Okay.
well. He can help coordinate with that.
I know we're immediately upcoming with the one charger that we're looking to put in. Can take a look at that charger prep credit. We've already reached out to Wilson at the Op Center. So, but as we're looking to put in more EV charging infrastructure around our facilities, that's one rebate opportunity that
Just so y'all know, our two leads now have city vehicle numbers on them and they're parked near my building or our building. We just don't have the chargers yet, but that's being contracted right now.
So they're single use for now, right? You run them until they run out, and we just leave them
I
wherever.
told the fleet manager, should do not bring keys when you park over here, because we'll drive them and run out of charge.
Then we'll be
We don't
towing
wanna
them
do
back
that.
to the,
We don't want to be that.
yeah,
it's not a great advertisement.
Apartment in Mayfair,
What's that?
Yeah,
apartment
right.
in Mayfair.
There you go.
So we can go over and swipe some
Yeah.
Tesla.
Just ask them when they can drive them.
I know, we need them, so.
Was there a social media post about?
I don't want to post anything until we actually can use them, so. But there's still the jury's still out on naming them, so. White lightning is gonna be, it's a white one and a silver one. White lightning is gonna be the white one. I'm putting my foot down on that one.
I think there needs to be public input for it or something.
No, that's not good. We'll keep the names to ourselves. Uh-oh, this is a publicly reported meeting. Sorry. Out. Jury's out.
I wish PJ was still on here because at our last meeting, he was the one that had brought up a program, which I don't know if it's happening or going to happen, but they were talking about a load shedding opportunity by reaching out to anybody with emergency generators across the state. So during, peak demand times, particularly during the winter, if that was going to actually be a program. So I don't know if you've heard anything about that, or maybe that's something Wilson could follow up on as well.
I'm not aware of a program that speaks to that.
I think it was like I guess PJ was listening to some of the utility commission proceedings, and he heard about a potential program for anybody with emergency generators. You might be able to sign up for a program where if there was particularly high demand, they could tap into those generators.
Just summer periods, things like that.
Or like the wintertime
Right.
storm events, that kind of thing. So
I can do some research. I'm not aware of that specific Duke Energy program. I'm not-
yeah, I don't think it was an official program
Okay,
yet,
yeah.
but something potentially upcoming.
The Energy Commission.
Yeah.
Discussing.
Because we have a lot of emergency generators. So I don't know if that would be something we'd be interested in, but be certainly worth knowing more about.
One of the topics we had wanted to ask you about is kind of, being here on the coast, we're very interested in the offshore wind side of things. And whether for like economic development or clean energy development, what Duke has in the pipeline for that and ways that we can collaborate and support that initiative. We've Sean being in the industry, me being from the Northeast, like we've seen a lot of the stuff that comes up when you start working on these projects. And so we've wanted to get out ahead of that and do anything proactive we can to set that avenue of clean generation up for success here as much as we can. So I don't know if you can speak to any of that, but that was one of the things we were interested in.
So as far as offshore wind, we are still, looking at it as a all of the above approach. The North Carolina Utilities Commission will really make the final determination of what that will look like. What percentage of, renewable generation will be associated with that. So we're pretty much right there in a holding pattern until that final decision is made. But I will remember that offer, as we, as that particular topic is discussed and it's, firmed up, depending on what that path looks like.
Yeah.
I think coming from particularly coming from the Northeast, I think when you go home, you see some of the negative outreach in regard to it, and whatever we can do to
Head that off.
Be advocates and.
Well, and plus like we, just from the economic standpoint, like I know Charleston is taking massive advantage of the opportunities there with their projects where, like their port is being modified to handle turbine transportation. They're starting to build out like a wind turbine manufacturing infrastructure there. And so like they're reaping a lot of the economic benefits just of the like manufacturing and install and infrastructure side of it. And like we are set up very similarly to Charleston as far as like capabilities wise. So it's something where I don't want us as a city to miss the economic boat, as it were, for this kind of opportunity. You know, this is going to be part of our future going forward. Like we want to be ahead of the curve as far as making it attractive and capitalizing on the economic benefits of it as much as we can, as well as the energy and societal benefits of it.
And we have good schools around here too. Cape Fear has like a marine technology program that'd be good to partner with or to do educational outreach with.
Well, and UNCW is partnered with
UNCW.
and UNCW is partnered with NC State's engineering department now too. So they have like a 3+2 degree now.
Okay.
So like we have access to, our local university has access to state's whole engineering department, which is extensive and top notch. So like we have the resources here, we should be taking advantage of them.
Is the hydrogen hub, is that also kind of on the waiting to get more information from the Utilities Commission before you move forward with that?
I do know we have reached out for a letter of support to the city of Wilmington, and thank you for that letter that you all provided. I believe that was last year, if I recall. But we were not selected as one of
Oh,
the
really?
cities
Wow.
for that to be pursued. So we did try, but I will say that the energy landscape will continue to evolve. The North Carolina Utilities Commission will let us know, which direction we need to go, because they do make the final decision moving forward. And so we'll continue to look. I think it'll continue to evolve. So
I think the IRA had like $76 billion or something set aside for hydrogen development.
Yeah.
So the grants and the R&D money are there. So, I think down the pipe, we'll see that develop out more.
Was that, you said city wasn't selected, was anywhere in North Carolina selected or, was that?
I don't recall a city in North Carolina being selected, but I want to speak out of turn.
Yeah, I'm sure it was for opportunities across the country, so,
Sites across the country.
yeah.
But I don't remember North Carolina being one of those selected. Vaguely.
Yeah. Hopefully some of those IRA funding or some of these projects continue to get funded even with more federal funds down the road, so.
Was the, whoever, answer this question. The GSA program, was that identified in Duke's carbon plan specifically, or is it assumed to be just a part of one of the already identified larger groups?
I do not know off the top of my head.
I would have to verify.
That's something PJ probably knows off the top of his head.
I'm sure. Well, I should have asked.
It's in there, yeah, it's in there.
It's
In fact, what she presented is the new GSA choice. It used to just be called the Green Source Advantage Program, but the way it is now is the latest iteration that's in the current carbon plan.
So that 250 megawatt capacity she listed is built into the, okay.
Yeah.
But was that capacity? Was that for all projects or just this all? Because it almost seemed like they were at that capacity. I mean, 135 for.
Yeah, they were at 250, but I think that was the original iteration of the project.
Okay.
Like how she said, this is new as of July.
Yeah.
I think it's a new round of capacity available.
Yeah, that was, under the previous allocation.
So as we talked last, when we calculate our impacts, we we look at the e-grid, the data from the e-grid to plug into our measuring stick to calculate what our greenhouse gas emissions impact is based on electricity usage. Do you have any knowledge or direction on where that's going for the next 3 years?
That is not in my wheelhouse. These are conversations you should have with Wilson, really. These are conversations for Kim as you're discussing your account and things of that nature.
Okay.
Because he's your large account manager. He has access to like your usage, your kilowatt hours, the accounts and things of that nature.
I'm sure he would come to one of these, wouldn't he?
But I believe we can work that out.
Okay.
If we know what the subjects will be, well, in advance and set the expectations, we can make sure that we have subject matter experts who can get you specific information on specific topics. It would probably be a good idea if we did like one topic. Because when I saw the email 10 to 15 minutes, I'm like, that's a lot of stuff to cover.
Sure.
But if we can do like one topic and make that the focus point.
Well, and it's easier for your subject matter experts where you're not trying to pull 10 subject matter experts in either. You have your offshore wind person, you have your electrification person, and you can, it's easier to coordinate with one of them versus like, hey, I need all 10 of you guys in a room,
Well, we can do, we may be able to do two, but making sure that you all have the folks that work with those programs. So that you can get the answers that you need at that specific time.
I think a good one to do is kind of once we get our fleet transition study either completed or rolling along, reach out, because I know there's someone within Duke that very much looks into just fleet EV projects.
Right, like each of the areas that I mentioned with the high level, those are entire programs that the company, manages. And so
being able to look at the infrastructure at the sites that our studies are going to identify as far as, where we're building out EV charging infrastructure. And so to have that person come and, here's what the electricity grid in those areas are looking like right now, and what upgrades we may need to do.
I think an easy one would be having Wilson come and talk to us about what energy efficiency programs that city buildings may be eligible for. That's something, like you said, that he's readily involved with, so it should not take a lot of legwork as far as digging in, and he should be able to get that information to us relatively easily for a presentation. It would be a good just kind of overview for us as far as, we're talking about energy efficiency here. What opportunities are there from Duke that we can take advantage of for those buildings, particularly, our new Shining Skyline Center that
We are a facility manager here and may want to join in for that meeting as well. Aubrey, maybe
and you all meet how often?
once a month.
Once a month. Okay.
We
10 months.
Yeah, we skip a few months. Yeah.
Well, we took July off this year.
Yeah.
I think this was the first year we took July off.
Yeah, isn't that normally 12 months? When do we skip?
Well, we skipped December. We haven't met in December.
Yeah, we probably will.
Like I said, the years, they're just all blended together. Okay. I get the notification on the phone that I got the meeting, turn up.
I think what I'll do is I'll touch base with Wilson, and as I said, I'll share what concerns and questions you all had. And then from there, he can talk with you all about creating maybe a schedule every quarter or every 6 months, having a subject matter expert come in and speak to a specific program.
I like that idea. Yes.
So, and that, I think that way you can get the information directly from structure. I do a little pinch hitting every now and then, but you need the people who are actually working the programs and managing those programs day in, day out.
Be great.
A note for you to write down for when we talk with Wilson would be, I'm curious if we're taking advantage. I know annually we're allowed to have the rate review. Okay, so you do that already.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually January,
Okay.
start of the year.
But Pam, do you, for community relations, do you ever try to like meet with, you know, schools or the public and just try to inform them on subjects like clean energy, or work with nonprofits to do those sorts of presentations or meetings?
So generally, because of the amount of usage and things like that, it falls, like, for instance, the city, that would fall in the large account managers purview. But it depends if a school reaches out to me and they ask me, but generally that falls in the large account managers realm.
Well, I was just talking about like educating that also, like if you just wanted to explain some of your renewable projects to the public, like a small meeting, that would also be under account manager.
Well, it depends. I could, if someone reached out,
Okay.
I could do that, but my focus is primarily our elected officials, local government leaders, emergency management. From time to time, I may interact with the school, but usually a large account manager would look at their accounts from that perspective. But from time to time, we do get schools asking us to come out and talk with their students about very specific things. What are you thinking?
Well, I've just seen, we talk about this, it's like the task force for offshore wind. I forget what the last
Full
three.
acronym,
Yeah. But anyways, you see them kind of going into school, teaching kids about wind turbines and how they work. And like one of the things I've noticed here is that like when the lease sales first started, there was more outreach, more events happening, and it's kind of died down a bit on the coast. And I think similar to what Rich was saying, it's like you want to keep people educated so you just don't have like no knowledge and then all of a sudden you're building turbines and they're like, well, what's going on? You know, like you want to have some connection between, I guess, the lease and then.
Well, people are gonna latch onto the first thing they hear, right?
Yeah.
So like if the first thing they hear is like more economic development, cleaner power,
Job
less
development.
job development, less severe weather events, yada, 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 like they get that in their head. Or they can get, eyesores, dead birds, dead fish, killed whales, whatever, all the other stuff. that
Turbines
they-
catching on fire.
What was, yeah, like balsa wood forest being destroyed in the rainforest, like all that kind of stuff, they'll grab onto that. So that's,
But yeah, I was thinking solar as well. I mean, you could do the same type of thing. Just,
Sure.
Have a farmer come by to school or something to talk about how this, if it's impacted him at all, if it's on his land or not. I don't know.
I know Total Energies is doing a lot of the research portion of the work.
Yeah.
And from our perspective, we did win one of the two
Yeah.
leases. But there is a lot that you already
Yeah.
know all this stuff, but there's a lot of research and work that has to be done before we move to that next iteration. And we need to make sure that we're being diligent about following the North Carolina Utilities Commission's guidelines as set forth. So we don't want to get, ahead of ourselves, but that research and those requirements have to be met, moving forward, so.
anyone else?
Jessica, Andrea, any last questions? So we're getting close to our time here.
You're muted again, Jessica.
That's so funny because I'm not a boomer. But no, I appreciate today's presentation a lot. I don't have any specific questions for Pam.
Same, thank you.
In case everyone gets 9 minutes of their day back, we'll go ahead and adjourn now.
Update on.
Yeah, update on committee. Well, does Andy need to be here for that?
She can be, but she does. She's got.
Well, we'll thank you for your time. If you want to hang out and hear about committee personnel decisions, feel free. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day.
Gonna have a great rest of the day. But again, on a serious note, thank you all for allowing me to come in. I think this is the first time you've had someone from Duke come in and fellowship with you. So, but I appreciate that. And I will connect with Wilson to hit those highlights of those concerns that you all had and then move forward.
Great.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Dan.
And nice meeting you. Now, it clicked. It clicked.
So we,
Do we want to still be recording or we turn the meeting just?
yeah, this is part of the meeting, I think. So,
Okay.
well, that wasn't on the agenda. I just felt it appropriate to update y'all. The city clerk did update the mayor on membership and terms, which is, I mean, nothing really unusual. She's managing 25 different committees across. So this one is a bit unique because most of the committees are council appointed. This committee is mayor appointed. So only the mayor has to approve of the appointments. Officially, and this is the part related to Lindsay. Officially, we are down 2 positions, quite simply because she can't attend. And if you, I know you probably don't remember because it's been so long, but
Unexcused.
yeah, there's some criteria in how we set the committee up about being able to participate. And we certainly don't want to take that for granted, and for y'all's time, it's valuable. Unfortunately, if she can't participate, then she can't be on the committee. So officially we have 2 vacancies that we're trying to fill. On the good side, we do have 5 applications for people who want to join. So,
Was our fly on the wall last month one of those 5?
he was,
Okay.
yes. So, just late last week, we got the same package that the clerk prepared for the mayor. And she has provided us with all 5. It's not really our job to say we want that one.
Right.
But there is a kind of an obligation just to say, yes, this person would fit into this slot on the committee. And if y'all remember, there's slots related to subject matter experts, and there's slots that are at large. Quite frankly, I think we have all subject matter experts. So we've always had subject matter experts. So I don't think it's going to be a stretch. But hopefully Dave and I'll go over those applications and send something back to the clerk so that she can then re-interact with the mayor. Dave and I did participate in a conversation about that several years ago. But
Did they all come in at the same time, or?
I didn't ask that
Okay.
question, so I don't know.
It's not just from one company, it's.
These are
BP is really interested in those leases in there.
there is some I guess diversity, if you will. They're not all from one company. So but I just wanted to make sure y'all are all up to date on that.
Yeah.
So
One follow-up question I had was I saw that New Hanover County has appointed a sustainability manager. Do we want to extend an invite to her or?
That would be great. I did not know that. That's good news.
Yeah, that was just,
Do y'all know who they are? Who it is?
I don't remember the name off the top.
oh,
of my
I
head.
remember the last name. Wampler or Wampler. Wampler.
I've already met her. She's coming from San Diego.
Oh, thanks for the invite.
What was her first name?
Madeline.
Madeline.
She's sharp. So,
And so from what I understand, she's not under the facilities umbrella that I was when I was there.
reporting to her, further up the
Directly.
chain.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
That's great news.
Yeah, I hope there can be some collaboration and, just what we were talking about today with, I don't know if New Hanover County is going to be interested in perhaps procuring renewable energy, but maybe we could, that would be a potential partnership, just like Durham County was doing on her slide presentation.
That'd be great. Yeah, I would say she's not, she's gonna want to ramp up, but meeting her sooner rather than later would be great.
Yeah, I can, certainly reach out to her. Once I think she starts 1st of October.
Before she gets jaded.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all are aware as well, there's like a new kind of a green drinks group that's formed within the city.
Ooh, fancy.
In poor taste, given our Chemex problems. Or our
Yeah,
Chemex
right.
problems. Now we're having radioactive drinks.
It's more just a social get together for sustainability and environmentally, I would say, focused folks. But they've got an Instagram and I think Facebook page. If you want to just Google green or look up Green Drinks Wilmington.
Okay.
They had one meeting I was out of town. I couldn't go to it, but I think they just pick a different social venue each month, but it's could be of interest to this group. Just, kind of professional development and finding out what some other professions are doing across the city.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, in that case, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks,
Thank you.
y'all.
Thank you.
See y'all.